Hello there. It's a little over 6:15 p.m. across Cameroon. It's time for the news on Canal International, coming your way from our broadcast hub in central Douala. Up next, the headlines with Kejang Henry Atembe.
Cameroon's Education Minister warns. Professor Nalova Lyonga frowns on institutions that continue to abuse the rights of children with impunity. Department. Government explains 2023 budget to Cameroonian. The reconstruction of the northwest and southwest regions bedeviled by the conflict, the teachers' revendications, and the national development strategy. Built with more than 80% coming from the youth folk. The 6:15 news rolls out.
Thanks once again for your company. Now let's start out with one of our lead stories, because Secondary Education Minister Nalova Lyonga has warned teachers and educational establishments still beating up children as a means of correction to halt the practice with immediate effect. In a statement rendered public Monday, she brandished threats of heavy sanctions awaiting culprits. So what alternatives are available for teachers and such schools? Hyacinth Chia went finding out.
Minister Nalova Lyonga's communique highlights Article 5, Law number 98/004 of April 1998 that prohibits the beating of students in school. And some institutions have already adopted alternative measures of punishment, not necessarily the usual spanking.
You can kneel down, or they can put you in detention. Maybe after classes, when others are going home, you are there washing your classroom or sweeping everywhere.
Sociologists have equally advised that intellectual exercises can redress the children better than the cane, which can rather spark unstoppable violence.
Alternative can be to punish students by using a kind of possibility to reduce their mark and to give them another exercise. We can have educative punishment, because all types of violence have the possibility to be entrenched.
And talking to parents on the streets of Yaoundé this January 17, some prefer teachers use the whip on their children, but with the sole intention of bringing them back on the right track.
We should beat children, but we should mind the way we beat children in school. Beat children in such a way that the child can understand that he has committed a fault to a certain extent. Or beat a child based on what, by showing him what he has done wrong. Not beating the child by torturing the child. Because when you beat the child to a certain extent, it becomes a trauma.
But others insist that dialogue can do the magic.
Make him or her like my friend.
The Secondary Education Minister warns that heavy sanctions await teachers that will continue whipping the learners both in public and private schools.
And so 25 years after it was outlawed, corporal punishment remains very much en vogue in various parts of the country. In Douala, discipline masters and guidance counselors agree that using the cane on students is tantamount to a violation of their rights. D. Maureen reports.
These pictures show how bad corporal punishment is still deeply rooted in some schools in Cameroon. Taribo Ashu James had been a discipline master and now vice principal of Government Bilingual High School, Dido, in Douala. He recalls how some teachers continue to inflict pains on children on campus.
I had an experience where a girl child was whipped who was under administration, and you know what can happen.
I've seen children that have been so recalcitrant, they boycott classes, they even take harmful substances, but it took me just a dialogue with them and consistent counseling.
Some surveillants don't still see it good because they believe that the way to change a child is to whip the child. But all administrations look at it in a fatherly way. The way to change a child is to bring the child closer to you.
Some schools have fast adopted alternative forms of punishment, like in government bilingual high school Dedo, where the students are compelled to sweep, mop the floor, or picking dirt littered on campus. Duval College, just like GBHS Dedo, have all understood the need to respect students and moral integrity, as specified in Article 35 of the Cameroon National Guide, number 98/004/1998. It is clear corporal punishment had long been banned in schools, but the law is still violated.
We can ask you to dry clean the corridor. We can ask you to sweep your classroom.
A child is kept to read a book, and usually the book is related to the particular offense that that child has committed so that the child can learn.
The press release signed January 16 by the Minister of Secondary Education only comes to remind the entire education family of the need to respect the rights of children, but again, will teachers toe the line?
Now on to something else, because for the second time in recent weeks, elections at the Cameroon Medical Council, initially slated to unfold this January 18, have witnessed another adjournment. According to sourced information from the Ministry of Public Health, the inability to organize the polls is rooted in the lack of a consensus. Beatrice Ngamo reports.
Yesterday's tweet by Public Health Minister Manauda Malashi took many off guard. The elective General Assembly of the Cameroon Medical Council, scheduled for tomorrow Wednesday, postponed again to an indeterminate date.
I received information and elements from the council in the sense of not being ready for elections, and then understood that there are lots of manipulations not need to be reserved.
And the breast is to put all to a stop for things to be set for the election to unfold normally. His tweet concords with the instructions from the presidency, signed by the minister, Secretary General of the Presidency of the Republic, Ferdinand Ngongo.
Our intention is to build a strong council, not one divided, and in the move to build a strong, viable council able to support government, give advice on health sector.
Details of the complaint the health boss refuses to disclose. The first postponement last December 29, 2022, the minister said, was due to the shocking number of over 10,000 doctors who turned out, far from the 300 expected. That is when it was even realized that there is no electoral file for the General Assembly to conduct election. It is the platform created then that has led to the registration of doctors, having the 7 candidates, though it was still difficult to share modalities for the organization of the election. It should be noted that it is since April last year that a new bureau is to head the Cameroon Medical Council, which has the mandate to manage universal health coverage in the country.
Now let's talk money, because Cameroon's 2023 state budget is specific in several ways. It takes into consideration a couple of sociological aspects, the various crises the world is going through and their impacts on the economies of nations. On that score, the budget execution stakeholders have been urged to be thorough and meticulous. That's a prescription from the Minister of Finance himself. He was listened to by Kejan Henry Atembe.
The 6,345.1 billion francs CFA enacted for the year 2023 will cover priority sectors like education, which will consume 814 billion francs. This amount is expected to handle the revendications of primary and secondary school teachers. Meantime, 1,257.2 billion has been allocated to import substitutions. This amount will help in the transformation of local products and to support agriculture and livestock to fight high cost of living. In order to speed up with the reconstruction of the conflict-ridden northwest and southwest regions, as well as the far north region, the government has allocated 15 billion CFA francs. The reforms in the public finance pays credence to decentralization, which is expected to swallow 252.6 billion CFA francs. Other areas that the 2023 budget will handle include major projects still on hold, the erection of security and health cordons across the country, and the pursuance of the 2020-2030 National Development Strategy. Like every budget, the case of the 2023 budget was prepared based on a particular context, the Russo-Ukrainian War that has caused prices to swell, pushing most countries to carry out reforms in their public finance.
Meanwhile, the Central region will this year operate within a budget of slightly over 183 billion CFA francs. The bulk of that money will be spent on infrastructure improvements in the areas of healthcare, education, rural electrification and water supply, amongst others. It was launched Monday in Yaoundé by Governor Nasseri Paul Beya. Beatrice Ngamo was there and now reports.
Vast in nature, with 10 divisions, the Central Region this 2023 will function with a sum of 183.1 billion CFA francs, an increase of 49 million. The envelope will see some 30 million for the supply of potable water to households, 85 million for construction of classrooms, 762 million for rural electrification. The list continues, all to meet the needs of the population in the region.
Call on all the stakeholders to be able to work hard for projects to be realized.
Revenue collection, mobilization of expenses must strike a balance, reiterates Governor Nasseri Paul Beya during the official launch in Yaoundé Monday in the presence of a representative from the Ministry of Finance. The economic context of 2023 finance bill is still around the impact of the security and health crisis in the country and the Ukraine war.
We need discipline, hard work, and we need more over the councils who have the majority of this budget to be able to come up with realizable projects and realize them on time. And finally, we want everybody to be disciplined in terms of collecting and in terms of expenditure.
Discipline and committed mobilization, the watchword, to avoid the risk of public indebtedness and avoidable or negligible risk.
Now, if you happen to be a banana or plantain grower and you're based in Cameroon Southwest region, then there could be some good news in the pipelines for you, because we gather that the government is planning to set up a processing unit in that part of the country in the near future. Up next, Ines Ondo-Ambala says the contours of the processing plant will be fleshed out at the upcoming Banana Fiesta, due to unfold in Boya in the months ahead. Here's a report.
Amongst strategies to be put in place to revamp the banana plantain sector in the Southwest region is to establish an industrial plan for the processing of the banana plantains in the Southwest region. The national president of the banana plantains sector, Samuel Tonio Bambikwe, and his team are meeting local authorities in the region to present the project. They told Southwest Governor Benau Kaliabilai that 40 international investors are expected in the days ahead in the Southwest region on the occasion of the second edition of the Banana Fiesta.
With the coming of this event, we will be driving a processing unit for the Southwest region come 2023. It's one of the initiatives that come with the International Plantain Festival. It's equally an opportunity that's going to showcase the rich cultural diversity of the Southwest persons, I being a native of the Southwest. And I think with its potential to gather actors across the world, we will be telling the world a little bit about what the Faku people are, the Southwest people in general are.
An incubator of international reference will be implanted in the Southwest region to enable the region regains its economic momentum and to rebuild itself. Adding to the incubator project is stepping up the production of seeds to millions of tons in the Southwest region.
We want to change the narrative as far as sustainable development is concerned for the country, where we do not rely only on the rudimentary traditional means for young persons to acquire jobs, but look for more sustainable and economic developing and life-changing opportunities like what we are hoping to bring. The FBPC has been existing for quite a while now, but in the little times we have been able to achieve a lot.
The 2023 Banana Fiesta will increase the production of banana plantains from the current 5 million tons to 10 million tons in 2030, and to make Cameroon the first largest producer of banana plantains in the world, as it's currently occupying the 3rd position worldwide.
Now, the late Fon Angwafo III of Mankon in the northwest region of Cameroon can rest in eternal peace following the culmination of a cultural festival in his honor organized at the weekend in Bamenda. Dubbed the Nukwi Festival, the showcase witnessed the conspicuous attendance of delegations from various friendly tribes. Here's Sherifa Saleh and Annie Collins.
After 1 month of intense cultural activities to celebrate the life of the late Fon Angwafo III, the Nukwi Festival of the Mankon people has ended over the weekend in Bamenda. For 30 days, about 100 other Fons and elite heavily mobilized their people from far and near to file past the courtyard of the Ntop Palace, like Mbiame village in Vem subdivision and Ngo in Jikwa subdivision, in what has been described as traditional diplomacy.
My objective of coming here is to come and see the successor of Fon Angwafo and to appreciate all the work that he has done for the Northwesterners and for all Fondoms in Norwest.
The people have been long blocked from a celebration and so on. So the turnout of what people was unpredictable. It was wonderful.
The fondom of Mankon and the fondom of Mbiame have been, I would say, brothers before the days of the other fathers.
In one of his first outings with broad smiles, the new Fon of Mankon, Fru Asa Angwafo IV, accompanied all the visiting villages in display of culture with a call for lasting peace to reign.
The task is given to somebody who is capable of handling it. It is not so difficult. It requires that the people should collaborate with their leader to be able to chart the way forward for a better Mankon.
The end of the Nukwi marks the resumption of farming and other activities of the Mankon people earlier suspended by the Kwifo.
And that's it for tonight's package on this edition of the News in English on Canal International. Up next at 1950, Alain Ghislain Kanga comes up with more news in French. But in between, Lil Pijo and our guest on the debrief will delve into the contours of the adjournment of the elections at the Cameroon Medical Council. Stay safe and see you tomorrow.